Hello people, CA Rajvardhan here. In this series of videos, I was bringing to you the solutions to financial reporting paper of CA final from November 2020. In the part 1 of our video, we had done solution to question number 1A and 1B. So here we are today solving question number 2. So let's get started. So this is our question number 1A and 1B, which we had done the other day. So today we'll be doing question number 2A. PGH is the subject code. Come on. Let's do question number 2A now. Solution to question number 2A. Question number 2A. What does it deal with? ABC Limited supplies plastic buckets to wholesale customers. Very good. As per the contract entered between ABC Limited and a customer. So the fundamental reading of the first two lines gives us an understanding that this should be regarding the revenue recognition. Yeah, revenue with revenue from contracts with customers in days 115. Let's go ahead. So, and financial year 1920, the price per plastic bucket will decrease retrospectively. Here is the keyword. It it will decrease retrospectively as sales volume increases with stipulated time for 1 year. So I'm giving an offer because it's a deal with a wholesaler. I'll tell like, okay, if you buy one product, it's 100 rupees. If you buy two products, I'll give it to you each at 90, not like the second product at 90. So then what is happening? First product, I might have sold it to you at 100. When you buy the second product, I would have to reduce the first product's price also to 90. So here the revenue that will be generated by us is variable. The revenue that will be generated by us is variable. Whenever the revenue generated from the goods sold to the customer is variable, then according to Ind AS 115, we have two methods to account it. One, expected value method, or we can go by most likely method. Come on, let's continue reading the question before drawing complete conclusions. So that's the fundamental takeaway from this particular reading of the question that we did. Okay, then the price applicable for the entire sale will be based on the sales volume. I told you when the sales volume increases, the price decreases retrospectively. Okay, so what is the price per unit? They've told price per unit is 90 if it is 0 to 10,000 units. So if I buy 0 units or 10,000 units, per unit it will be 90. If I buy 10,001 units, like one unit more than 10,000, then the price would drop to 80, not for that one unit over 10,000, but for all the units that I've purchased. Do you understand the complication involved here? Yes. Okay. So then 10,001 to 35,000 units if I buy, price per unit for first unit till 35,000 unit is 80 rupees. But if I buy more than 35,000 units, it will come to 70 rupees. Okay. How do we recognize the revenue? I've told you previously, two methods, expected value method or most likely method. So all the transactions are made in cash. Okay. Another important point. So we should not assume this to be credit transactions. They've told it to be straight to be cash transactions. So whenever the sale is made, the journal entry will be cash account debit to sales account, or we can write cash or bank to revenue account. Yeah. If you want here, because some amount would be like liability for us. I'll tell you an instance. I sell a product, only one unit to my customer. So the price is 90 rupees. I cannot write bank account debit to revenue account, 90 rupees. The reason is, if I expect to sell more than 10,000 units, then the selling price will be 80. I repeat, if I sell one unit, the journal entry is cash to sales. You cannot write cash to sales or cash to revenue 90 because if you have a thought in your mind, or if you have an expectation in your mind that you will sell more than 10,000 units, then the selling price would be 80, not 90. Sir, but you collected 90. Yes, I collected 90 rupees from my buyer, from my customer, but I would have to return the 10 rupees to him. It will be my liability. So the journal entry will be, the cash receipt will be recorded at 90. A revenue will be recognized at 80 rupees only. The difference of 10 will be recorded as liability. It can be recognized as on account item. I'll write it to my trade receivables or sundry debtors account. That is valid, possible, but I cannot recognize entire 90 as my revenue if I have an expectation to sell more than 10,000 units. Similarly, if I have an expectation to sell more than 35,000 units, I should recognize only 70 rupees revenue from the first unit. Sir, how can we predict? Yeah, that's the reason we should go by most likely method, or what to say, that probability based method. Which one is that? Expected value method. So we need to take all the possible facts and figures into consideration. the past performance, the relationship with the customer, your speculation, management analysis, what does the management think, what does the sales manager think, everything should be taken into consideration. And then you would have to arrive at probability of selling units, which is the most probable item. How much percentage of probability is there to sell 10,000 units? How much percentage of probability to sell 15,000 units? How much to 30,000 units? So like that. Yeah, that is completely accounting estimates based on lots of ifs and buts. Huh? Let's go ahead. So suggest how the revenue is to be recognized in the books of accounts. This is the first sub question of ABC Limited as per expected value method. So they have told the method to us. They're telling they want to follow expected value method. They want us to tell the revenue. Now I can't decide the percentages. Those percentages analysis ke liye, there's lot of insight required into the accounts of the companies. So they've given that to us, considering a probability of 15%, 75%, and 10% of sales volume for 9,000, 28,000, and 36,000. So what they're telling is the probability of selling 15% probability of selling 9,000 units, 75% probability of selling 28,000, and 10% probability of 36,000. So here it is simple thing. It is weighted average of the probabilities. So you take 9,000 units multiplied by 75, 15%, 28,000 multiplied by 75%, 36,000 into 10%. You get that? And then similarly, you need to multiply with the respective prices. Now, if it is 9,000 units, what will be the price? 90, because 9,000 units falls between 0 and 10,000. Second expected is 28,000 units. 28,000 units falls between 10,000 and 35,000. So the price per unit comes to 80. And 36,000 units is more than 35,000. Price per unit what is to be considered is 70. Here, there is little bit of ambiguity. I don't know if you will actually see this ambiguity. If you see this ambiguity, hi-fi, listen to me. If you have not come across this, if there is no ambiguity in your mind, first let me place the ambiguity in your mind and then tell you what is it, and then tell you the solution to it. The ambiguity here is, or the confusion here is, sir, should I do 9,000 into 15%, 28,000 into 75%, 36,000 into 10%? You will get units. Take the total of units. You will get somewhere around 25,000, 26,000, some units. Should I take that many units and then check the price? Okay, it's around 25, 26,000. So it should be 10,000 to 20, 35,000 each units. So should I take 80 rupees per unit? Or should I do 9,000 into 15% into 90 rupees, 28,000 into 75% into 80 rupees, 36,000 into 10% into 70 rupees? Should I take the respective amount per unit and then find the total value? That is the question. Did you understand? So should we just use the weighted average or probability to find the units, total units, and then for that do we apply the price per unit, or do we multiply the respective price per unit with that probability and then find the value in total? Very ambiguous part. This part is okay. There are a lot of materials that I have come across. Few do this way, few do that way. If you ask me, I'll say stick to the standard. Stick to the standard. The standard says expected value method. I'll repeat. What I'll repeat. It is quite evidently given to us in the question also. So what is it called as? It is called as expected value method. What is it called as? Expected value. Okay, I'll take a more darker one. Okay, it's not happening. Highlight. Let us circle this. It is expected value method. If you can observe, it is not expected number of units. It's expected value. Expected value. So every time when I say 15%, it is not 15% of 9,000. It is 15% of 9,000 into 90. And when I say 75%, it is not 75% of 28,000 units. It is 75% of 28,000 into 80. So that is my call. I would suggest you to do 15% into 9,000 into 90, 75% into 28,000 into 80, 10% into 36,000 into 70. That is my call. But does the institute think so? That we would have to wait and watch for the suggested answers to be released by ICI. Once the suggested answers comes, then we'll see whether they're doing it multiplied by that price per unit individually or they're doing it in the total units. Yeah. Whatever I just told now, I'll put it across to you in the Excel sheet, show it to you with the calculations. You don't have to worry, but I just explained. Those of you who already had this ambiguity, I'm hoping that I solved that ambiguity that you people had. Those of you who didn't have, you better have that ambiguity now, because that's something that's worthwhile thinking about. You get that? Then for workings, assume ABC Limited achieved the same number of units. So this is just expected. Am I right? Expected it is. Yeah, it is expected. So telling that for the simplicity of calculations, assume that their expectation and reality gave kiss to each other. So the expectation met reality. It very hardly happens in our life because we usually tell, like expectation, we show some nice rosy rosy song. And whenever it comes to reality, we say, Dil wale puch dene cha. It's okay. So with respect to ABC Limited, they don't have any Dil wale puch dene cha. It's all happy, happy scenario. Wherein what's happening? Expectation is meeting reality. Okay. And they're asking us to calculate the revenue under expected value method for financial year 1920. Okay, boss, we'll do that. Then there is second and third sub question. Second sub question is, in case ABC Limited decides to measure revenue based on most likely method. If they're trying to do under most likely method, the second method, what do you do? Most likely method means easier it is. See, most likely is 75%, no? 15, 75, 10. So what has the more probability? 75%. So straight away we take 75%, 28,080 rupees. That's it, boss. Easy, easy. Most likely method is more easy. Yeah. And how will it be? How will the revenue be recognized? We'll compute it. For workings, assume that they achieve the same number of, again, expectation and reality are kissing each other. Wow. Yeah, no dilwale puch dena cha. No need to put that background tune. Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. No way. It's all happy, happy. Expectation and reality. If it was different, then we were supposed to pass that adjustment entry. If we have collected excess revenue, there might be a case where we might have to pay the money back to our customer also. Yes, then that's it. Last sub question. You are required to pass journal entries in the books of ABC Limited if the revenue as per expected value method. Easy one. But say not a difficult or not a troublesome one. How many marks is this one? 14 marks. I'll tell you 14 marks. This one is loot. Like ICA is putting this marks into your pocket and then taking, like, please take this and go. Go. Don't even look back. Take it. Kind of a situation. Fine. So if you don't have such feel, leave it to me. It's my responsibility. I'll give you such feel. Yes, we're doing in the books of ABC Limited. Okay. Ind AS 115. What does it talk about? Revenue from contracts. One of the lengthy ones. Talks about too many things. That is a problem. Don't tell me Chumadex R 115 is so big. 115 is so big because it replaces couple of accounting standards that we had, not just one. It takes care of your construction contracts. It takes care of your accounting standard 9 revenue recognition. It covers service agreements also. Yeah, a lot of things. Come on, let's go ahead. So let's do this. Revenue from contracts with customer. What does it say? So whenever there is variable income or variable consideration based contracts, in such a cases, how do we exactly recognize the revenue? Two methods. How many methods? Two methods. Method number one, expected value method. See, name itself says method. I'm giving you a reason why I'm following that per unit. I'm multiplying that with the probabilities only. Yeah. So this is a method which is based on probabilistic weighted average. Probabilistic weighted average method. Probabilistic weighted average method. Yeah, we multiply the probabilities with the units multiplied by the price per unit. In fact, you don't find similar question in your ICA material because majority of the questions in ICA material, they have not given per unit price and unit separately. They have totally given the values. So there you take the values multiplied by the probabilities. So there is no ambiguity. When it comes to this paper, they've given per unit price and unit separately. So you don't know if we should multiply it by per unit individually or take it on the total. Yep. Next method that we have is with regard to which one? That is regard to most likely method. Most likely method 2 is like even more easier. It is like eating a banana. But when it comes to management, when they're fixing up on those percentages, that's a hell of a task. Don't ask me how difficult is it. Then there what we do, single most likely outcome is there. Then we go for it. Single most likely outcome. It's basically performance based. Like, okay, fine. If you do it within this much time, this much revenue. If you do it lesser than this much time, you get bonus. If such kind of scenarios are there, we basically go by most likely method. So how do we determine between these two methods? Okay, select the method which basically gives the most probable amount of revenue. You get that? So which better predicts the revenue, which select the method which better predicts the revenue. But whichever method you pick expected value, you pick most likely method. There is no trouble. But once you pick, it has to be maintained consistently. Yeah, consistency is the key. Okay, but method picked has to be followed consistently. Yeah, this is the basic understanding that you need to know with regard to Ind AS 115 to solve this question. So come on, let us now start with first sub question. First sub question. Yeah. Huh. What exactly are they asking us in the first sub question? They're asking us to do it under expected value method. Expected value method. Or I'll write here only. Revenue computation under there is a very important simplification here in this question. They have clearly told us that the expected amount of units sold, number of units sold matched with the real number of units sold. There is no difference between expectation and reality. If that one small concept is there, then the question will be like, it would be fun. Yeah, but this one, they made it very simple for us. ICI loves us that way. Yeah, come on. Let us go units. Then probability. I'll show you that ambiguity part also neatly. So I'm not putting price per unit right next to units. I'm putting probability next to units and then I'll put price per unit. Yep. Probable units, then price per unit amount. That would be product of the previous two columns. Okay. Units is 9,000, 28,000, 36,000. 9,000, 28,000, 36,000. That is not 26, 36. What is the probability? 15%, 75%, 10%. 15%, 75%, 90, no, 75 plus 15. So balance is 10%. So total comes to 100%. Perfect. So what is the probable units? It is 9,000 multiplied by 15%. It is 28,000 multiplied by 75%. 35,000 multiplied by 10%. Yes. So this is where the ambiguity comes in. Now there is prices per these units. What is the prices per units? If it is 9,000 units, okay, fine. I'll show you the first part. First way of doing things is I can take total here. So total expected units will become 25,950. Let me make this look like amounts to you. There is no comma, which I don't like. Yeah, expected total probable units to total. Total probable units. So what a lot of them do here is the total probable units is 25,915 and then price per unit. What is the price per unit? Whenever it is 25,950 units, look at the question. 25,950. If it is between 10,000 and 35,000, the price is 80. So they take straight away 80 rupees here. And when they take 80 rupees here, the total revenue. Total revenue here becomes product of 25,950 and 80. So the straight away do 25,950 multiplied by 80, arriving at 20 lakh 76,000. I to a very small margin, I disagree with this. So what I would suggest you people to do instead of doing this total probable units multiplied by price per unit is, I would suggest to take price per unit individually. The reason pretty simple, it is expected value method, not expected units method. Expected value is price per unit multiplied by quantity multiplied by price is value. It is not expected quantity method. That is my thing. But let us however wait for the suggested answers and then see, because we can not largely disagree with the ICA suggested answer and then tell like what I do is correct at the end of the day. Let us go. 9,000 units, it is less than 10,000. 0 to 10,000, the price will be 90. We'll give 90 here. And then they've given 21,000 units. We arrived at 21,000 units falls between 10,000 and 35,000. It is more than 10,000, less than 35,000. So I'll take 80 rupees per unit. And lastly, we have how many units? 36,000. Yeah, 36,000 units is the probability here. Sorry, 9,000, 28,000. Yeah, when it comes to 36,000 units is 35,000 plus. So that will be at 70 rupees. So I'll take here at 70 rupees per unit. So if I do this, what will be the amounts? That is probable units multiplied by the price per unit. And probable units multiplied by the price per unit. Same thing would apply here as well. 2,52,000. Now I'm going to take the total. So is equal to sum of these three items that we have previously. How much do you end up getting? 20,53,500. This is for how many units in total? This is for total units of 25,950. You get that? So total revenue, expected revenue is how much? 20,53,500. Why am I not writing total expected revenue? Because in the question they've given the total expected revenue matched with the actual revenue, because number of units being matched. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what is the minute difference here. Here it is 80 and then 20,76,000. 20,76,000 is the revenue under this method. 20,53,000 under this one. What I'm asking you to do is 20,53,500. Now, number of units, probable units is how much? Total probable units. Okay. Total units is again 25,950. Total units is 25,950. So price per unit comes to how much? If I have to compute 20,53,500 divided by 25,595, it is 79.13. So what I am asking you to do is 79 rupees 13 paisa. What the other way of doing is 80 rupees. So there is less than a rupee difference per unit. So not much of a difference. Yeah, you can call it performance materiality wise. It might be material if you take into consideration the quantity of units under discussion, but it is hardly a rupee difference per unit. Yep. So I'll just mark this part in red, which I am suggesting you not to do. And then the rest of our answer will stay in our black part. Yeah. So this is our revenue. 20,53,500 is our revenue under expected value method. Now let us go to the second part of the question. So what exactly is the second part of the question? They've asked us to compute it under most likely method. Oh, okay, boss. Let us do it under most likely method. So second one. This is one of the very small answered question. I'm going to say the questions with not much computation in this particular paper as far as I see. Most likely method. Most likely method. Yes, it is under most likely method. Come on, let's do it under most likely method. So we'd have to take most likely units. So most likely number of units that is expected to be sold is how much? 28,000. Why? Because 75% probability. Most likely units means what? Units with units with high probability. That is how much? That 28,000 units. You get that? So what is the price per unit? Whenever it is 28,000 units, what exactly would be the price? Have a look in the question. If it is 28,000, it falls between 10,000 and 35,000. So the price that will be applicable will be 80. You get that? So price per unit is 80. Then how much exactly do we get as the amount here? Amount is simple, multiplication, guys. 28,000 units multiplied by 80, that would be 22 lakh 40,000. That's it. Recognize your revenue at 22 lakh 40,000. Yeah. From the first unit, you'd have to recognize it at this price. But first 10,000 units, whatever you sold, you might have sold it at 90 rupees. But out of that 90 rupees revenue, you would have to record only 80 rupees in this case, 79.13 in this case as revenue. That remaining money, whatever you collected, will be recorded as liability on account, and it would be shown as balance in our customer account, or you can write it debtor account, or you can write it as trade receivables. But the Ind AS term that we usually use is trade receivables. So please use the word trade receivables in that case. So we're done with the second part of the question also. They've asked us third part. They've asked us to write the journal entry under expected value method. Okay, expected value method. What is the accounting entry? Accounting entry for recognition of revenue under expected value method. You get that? Under expected value method, we're trying to recognize our revenue. Simple. Now, the beautiful part, I'm mentioning this to you again and again because it's truly beautiful. The expected revenue is matching with the actual revenue. Whatever the number of units that they expected, same thing matched. That's what they're telling us. If it is different, then our initial expected and then reality is different. We would have to refund certain money to our debtors, trade receivables, or customers. That is not happening in this case. And another important part is I cannot write this as a credit transaction because firstly, they mentioned very clearly that it is a cash sales. So whenever the revenue was to be recognized, initial journal it would have been cash or bank account debit to trade receivables. I'm writing it in the name of the person because I want to keep it on account. I want to know how much money is revenue is collected and how much is it? 20 lakh 53,500. And later this should be recognized as revenue. Revenue recognition, what will be the entry? Trade receivables account debit revenue from operations. Yes, how much will be the amount? Same 20 lakh 53,500. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell? Now, why did I write it as cash to trade receivables and trade receivables to revenue from operations? Because beginning of the year, we expected to sell 25,950 units, but there is no precondition that we have to sell 25,950. If in case we manage to sell more than 36,000, more than 30,000, then we would, each price will be 70 only, but we recognized that 79. So 9 rupees extra is collected. It should be paid back to customer. So I would write cash to trade receivables first, and then I would write trade receivables to revenue from operations to the extent of 70 rupees per unit. 9 rupees per unit, whatever I've collected extra, I would write it as to cash account. That is cash or bank balance being paid to our customer, the wholesaler to whom we've sold the goods. You get that? So this would be our accounting entry for recognition of revenue under expected value method. I hope this helps. Does this? Okay. So this is the answer. Is there anything else that's been asked in the question? That is for 2000 year 1920. Perfect. Now we can all comfortably go to next one. So I'll just put this accounting entry for recognition of revenue for 2019-20. Make it as comprehensive, as detailed as possible, and remove as many ambiguities as possible, give as many clarifications as possible. That's the objective of you writing the answer. Yes, that's it. By this, we're done with 2A. Now let's start with 2B. Question number 2B. 2, isn't it? Yeah, here it is. Question number 2B. Lal Limited provides you the following information for the financial year 1920. Estimated incomes for the year ended 31st of March 2020 is given to us. They've given it as for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. 4 quarters is given. And quarter 3, they've given specified special item here. There is capital gains. Capital gains will have a different tax rate. Don't tell me, sir, I'm not writing group 2, I'm reading only group 1. But you cleared your CA inter or IPCC, you should be knowing that capital gains are taxed separately. Huh? Okay, so the tax rate applicable will be little different. Tax rates, other incomes, and capital gains. So they've told for the normal incomes, the first 2,50,000 is taxed at 20%, and the balance income is taxed at 30%. And the capital gains, the tax rate applicable is 12%. Okay, calculate the tax expense for each quarter. So this question looks like it is on income on taxes, sorry, taxes on income, but actually not. This is not a question on income on taxes. Don't find this under Ind AS taxes wala Ind AS. You would have to find this under Ind AS 34, that is regarding interim financial reporting. So this is a question basically related to interim financial reporting. Interim financial reporting says that you would have to report your financial results or financial performance or position for a period lesser than a financial year. Then how do you do it? That's what interim financial reporting standard talks about. The brief understanding. Any expense or any income has to be split as to how much of it belongs to each of that interim financial reporting period. Remember, interim financial reporting period is a period lesser than the financial year. It need not be quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Yeah. So in this question, they've given Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So we need to recognize each quarter's expenses and incomes proportionately in that quarter only when we prepare our IFR. Tax expense, even if it is paid at in the fourth quarter or in the first quarter of the next year, it has to be recognized in each of the quarters because each quarter will contribute profits on which the total tax is paid. And you cannot say that, okay, fine, they've told like first to 2,50,000 made 20%. So on first quarter 3,50,000, I will do 2,50,000 into 20% and 1 lakh into 30%. And quarter to 4 lakh, I straight away put 30%, and that's what I'll do for the other quarters. Why are you giving extra benefit to Q1? You can't do that. So according to Ind AS 34, interim financial reporting, you would have to expect the total profits to be earned and the applicable tax rate based on the tax structure. You would have to find equated annual tax rate, and then that equated tax rate, whatever is it, total tax divided by total profit, total taxable profit that you find and put it in the denominator, total tax you put it on the numerator. You will identify the percentage, that is equated tax rate. That percentage of tax rate will be applied to each quarter's income to find the tax rate or the tax amount proportionately applicable to each of the quarters. That's how we're supposed to do this. Don't really worry, very easy one. I'll show it to you how it is done. So come on, let's do question number 2B. Yeah, in detailed discussion of Ind AS 34 interim financial reporting, I've done it, and it's in the series of videos that I've done, Ind AS with Accountsman, a free series, 20-minute videos, 40 odd sessions are already out. It's on YouTube. I'm going to upload another 15-20 sessions covering the rest of the Ind AS, which will help you in the revision in a very nice way. I've got really good reviews for that. You guys can go back and watch it, and I will put the link to all the Ind AS videos in the description, the entire playlists link. You can watch it, and yeah, come on, let's solve this. This is for Lal Limited. We're doing this computation for Lal Limited. Applicable Ind AS is Ind AS 34. Interim financial reporting. What does this standard say? Ind AS 34. What does it say, guys? Tax with respect to tax. With respect to tax expense. with respect to tax expense, what do we do? Equated tax rate is to be identified or determined. How do you find equated tax rate? Equated tax rate is equal to total tax expense divided by what? Total tax expense divided by total profit. Once you do this, we get equated tax rate, and tax expense for each quarter is identified as what? Profit quarter multiplied by equated tax rate. Yeah, this is with respect to ordinary taxes. Okay, I'll copy paste this entire thing a little below. Ordinary taxes. This with respect to ordinary taxes. For capital tax, capital gain tax. Capital gain tax. With respect to capital gain tax, this is not what we're going to do. With respect to capital gain tax, we'll identify the quarter to which or the period for which that capital gain income pertains to, and that entire capital gain tax is to be allocated to that quarter. Yeah, it is recognized totally in the quarter in which such capital gain arises. Whichever period may capital gain arises, to that period only we'll allocate the entire tax arising on capital gains. Yes, so this is with respect to our small understanding. See, I need not do this when I'm solving the answer. In fact, you are not required to write this as a part of your solution. I'm doing this for every question to give you a fair understanding of the standard that is required before solving the solution, before going into the solution. So the reason why each question is going for an hour is basically because I'm not just giving you the answer. I'm not just reviewing on how the answer is to be done. Firstly, I'm giving you the answer. That takes time. Secondly, rather than just saying the answer, this is the answer. I'm basically telling the logic behind it. Why is it so? And that part or that paragraphs of the Ind-AS which are applicable and pertaining to this particular question. Yep. Come on. Let us start. Gross annual income. Okay. How much is our gross annual income? 16 lakh 50,000. Okay. They've given it for each quarter. Q1. I'll write here quarter. Quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. Ordinary income, capital gain. How much is the income that we have in each of the quarters? They given it to us. Yes, they have. How much income in the first quarter? 3,50,000. 3,50,000. Second quarter, 4 lakh. 4 lakh. Third quarter, 6 lakh. 6 lakh is total. They've told 4 lakh is capital gain. 4 lakh is capital gain. Total is 6 lakh. So ordinary income is 2 lakh. 2 lakh is the ordinary income, out of which, what do you say? Sorry, 6 lakh is the total income. Capital gain is 4 lakh. Ordinary income is 2 lakh. Here it is 0. Capital gain in the other quarters are 0. Here also 0. So how much in the quarter number 4? Quarter number 4, we have 3 lakh rupees. 3 lakh. Okay. Now we'll go for the total. much is the total, guys? 3 lakh plus 2 lakh plus 4 lakh plus 3 lakh 50. That comes to 12 lakh 50,000 is the total income. Total income when it comes to ordinary income. Or what about the capital gain part? Capital gain would be 4 lakh only. No problem. So now let's go for the tax rates. Tax rates. Now, how much exactly is the tax? For ordinary income, they've told the tax is other income. First 2 lakh 50, it's 20%. Okay. For other income, first 2 lakh 50,000, what rate? 20%. 20%. And then balance 30%. Balance it is 30%. So come on, let us compute. I would have to do small computation here. I will do that. Just be little patient with me and have a look at it. So I would have to do the computation as 2,50,000 multiplied by 20%. You get that? So much will it be? 2,50,000 multiplied by 20%. I don't want anyone to say that you didn't understand after watching this. So I'm taking little more time on doing things in detail. If you are little sure at it or you know it, you can fasten the video. Or if you still feel like, sir, you teach cute, I want to listen to it completely, you can continue. Yep. Okay. Then, so what about the balance? How much is the balance? Balance is 12 lakh. Okay. Can I straight away rate it as 10 lakh? 12 lakh 50,000 is there. Out of the 2 lakh 50,000 is gone. So balance is 10 lakh. 10 lakh multiplied by how much? 30%. 10 lakh multiplied by 30% would come how much? It would become, okay, 3 lakh, but I'll still put the formula. 10 lakh multiplied by 30%. Yeah, Excel. 3 lakh. So total tax is 3 lakh 50. Now let us go for capital gain tax. Capital gain tax. So how much is capital gain tax? They have told it pretty simple. Capital gain tax 12%. 12%. 12%. So how much is the income? Income is 4 lakh. On the 12% will be tax. So tax will be is equal to 4 lakh multiplied by 12%. That comes to 48,000. Now let us see total tax. How much is total tax? Total tax column is required actually for our other ordinary income column only, is equal to sum, because we have 3 lakh and then 50,000 separately, isn't it? So total tax is this much. Now I'm going to find the effective tax rate or equated tax rate. Shall I? Okay, let us find equated tax rate or effective tax rate. How much is that? That is basically computed as, I've given you the formula here. How do we find it? Total tax expense divided by total profit. So total tax expense is 3,50,000 divided by 12,50,000. That will give me 28. Okay, I would have to do into 100, isn't it? Multiplied by 100. That would give me 28% effective tax rate in percentage. In percentage is how much? 28%. Okay, how about here? Here it would be same thing, guys. Same thing. You would get same 12%. I'll show it to you. Same 12% you get it. Done. This would have to apply it on each of the years. Shall we do it for each of the years now? Okay. I can actually add right next to it in here only. But I somewhere feel like, okay, fine. Let me put it here. Tax expense. Based on ETR, effective tax rate or expected tax rate. Come on, let me find this. Now we would have to do this for ordinary income and capital gain separately. And I would also have my total tax column. Yeah, total column. I will have 3 columns. Yes. How much is the income? 3,50,000. Or that I'll multiply with the applicable tax rate. That is 28% divided by 100. Yes, 98,000. Same thing I'll copy and I'll paste it for other periods. So I would arrive at, ouch, I would have to do it again. Sorry. So for the second year, it will be 4 lakh multiplied by 28 divided by 100. Google is trying to tell you calculated the same. I'm okay, boss. I'm fine with it. Here 2 lakh multiplied by 28% divided by 100. How much will it be? 56,000. And how much is it here? 3 lakh multiplied by 28%. That is 28 divided by 100. 84,000. This is for ordinary income. How about capital gain? It will be 0 here, 0 here. How about here? Here it will be 4 lakh multiplied by 12%. That is 12 divided by 100. That will give us 48,000. And here again it will be 0 because there is no capital gain. And if you find the totals, that will give us the tax applicable for each of the years. Sorry, each of the quarters. Is equal to yes. So this is the tax. If you see the total, it will come to be the same, but just the way we allocated it is little different. Yeah, 3,98,000. How much is the tax that we got? Yeah, 3,50,000 plus 3,50,000 plus 40. Total is coming down to 3,98,000. Yeah, 3,98,000 tax expense is allocated like this. So how much is the tax expense for quarter one? 98,000. Tax expense for quarter two? 1,12,000. Tax expense for quarter three? 1,04,000. Tax expense for quarter four is 84,000. Do you guys get this? And that's how we do this. Yes. And by this, I've successfully completed the discussion of this question also. What I say 2B also. 2B is also done. Yes, I'll just make it a little nice for you guys to see. You can find the link to this file in the description once I upload it. I'm including my working note, answer, everything together so that it will look fine when you watch. These are two different things. One is amount inner column, amount outer column. Yep, that's it, guys. So this is solution to question number 1, question number 2B for LAR Limited. And I don't think there is anything else asked. So we'll see solution to question number C. This is Venus Limited, buyer lesser, Ind AS 116 leases. So we'll see this 8 marker followed by another 8 marker. It's 8 plus 8, 16. There should be one more 4 marker here. Yeah, question number C has question number 3 has 3 sub questions. We'll see the solution to question number 3 in our part 3 video. There is part 1 video, it's having solution to question number 1, and this part 2 having solution to question number 2. You will get 3, 4, 5, 6 in the following days. I hope to see you there. Till then, please do well in your life. Please do study, stay happy, and stay in the game. Bye bye. What are you waiting for? There's nothing more left in the video. Can't you see the end? It says only 2 seconds left. That's it. Leave the video. Please go. Come back tomorrow to watch part 3. Bye bye.